Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Joe Emilio Show. I am your host, Joe Emilio, and I have two guests with me tonight. Two lovely ladies. But before I bring them on very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. It'd be greatly appreciated. And don't forget, you can check out the Telegram channel. We get notified of all the upcoming uploads and live streams. And as well as give this video a like. I see somebody's already given it a dislike, and we haven't even started. So I don't know. Someone's deranged on YouTube. Who knows what's going on there? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are tuning in, don't forget to also comment, ask questions. We engage with the audience. So if you have any questions at any time, please don't be shy to ask questions and use the super chat function. It goes a long way to supporting the channel and it is greatly appreciated. Now, with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the one guest I've had on my show before, Kelee Aerosmith, who some of you may remember from Personal Safety. The link to that website is in the description, so please go check it out. And check out that interview. It was a very interesting, fun interview. But now she's brought a friend with her, and we're there starting a project. And I'm not going to speak on their behalf. I'm going to let them do the talking. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Kelee Aerosmith and her friend Elmarie.
Elmarie.
Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Cool. Elmarie, let's start with you, because you're new to the show. Tell us a bit about Elmarie and what this new project is all about.
So, as Joe said, my name is Elmarie. I am a freelance worker in the film industry. And just by the nature of the industry, we have very random hours. And I used to come home at all hours of the day or night. And I would see these men and women patrolling our area. And I've decided, well, maybe that's something I should look into. And then during the day, I see this man walking his dogs with his community radio. And then one day I decided this is it. I'm going to join the Community Watch. I'm going to join Harlan Neighborhood Watch. Also, I thought playing on this community radio could be a lot of fun. I could just see myself going Delta 1-2, Delta 1-2, coming for Oscar 5-8 over.
Nice.
It's not at all the way it's done, but to me, I thought it's going to be pretty cool. And I did try once or twice in my excitement, and I had all the call signs completely wrong. But that's how we learn. And actually, needless to say, that I had no idea how much a call like that to a Delta can actually change the safety within our community. So yes, I joined the Neighborhood Watch, and as I got more involved, I realized that it's all about relationships within the communities. And when I say communities with an S, it starts with a very small community, maybe a street group of 4 or 5 houses that's got a WhatsApp group. That means they've got something going. And then it can be a couple of blocks or a bigger street. And somebody would call into the Neighborhood Watch and say, we've just seen a post of 2 people walking suspiciously, looking into properties, trying car doors. And the Neighborhood Watch will be able to mobilize patrollers to that area and go and have a look, investigate, but also be a presence, drive around and at least make their presence known. And on one such occasion, a young woman called in one evening saying a man has just locked eyes with her and he's sitting now outside her pavement and she's about to turn into her home and she's scared. The patrollers responded to the call. I also arrived a little bit after the men. And I saw, but I know this man. I know this man who's been locking eyes with her and sitting outside her property. He's a man that's often been sleeping in front of people's homes within our area and mostly in front of the pedestrian gate because often there would be a little canopy and people will have to climb over him to get into their homes. So we were often called to move him on. And what we mean by moving on is we would approach him and say, sir, please, do you mind just moving away from the area so that the pedestrians can get into their homes? And we would then escort them out the area. So on that occasion, I said to the guys, once I'd spoken to him, I said, listen, don't worry, I can escort him out of the area. I'll just drive behind him slowly until we get to the bridge a couple of blocks away. But on this evening, 2 blocks down the line, he stopped and he looked at me and shouted, I am coming to visit you later tonight. And he then started to satisfy himself, which was pretty scary to me.
Yep.
Obviously, I was not prepared for anything like that. And immediately on this lovely community radio, I could call for backup. I then went to the police station, opened a case against him. Then I decided, no, this is our neighborhood. He needs to go and he needs to go for good. And I went through the processes because there are processes available to us. And I went through the processes of getting a protection order. And yes, you can even get a protection order against a homeless person that harasses you. It is possible. And then we had to go to court. And upon arriving at court, I had a look at the docket, and there was nothing in the docket. The docket was empty. And unless there's something in the docket for the public prosecutor to work with, there's nothing he can do. He can't do anything with nothing. The investigating officer didn't get any statements. She didn't get any photographs from where he was sleeping in front of properties. There was just nothing there. I then started to phone fellow patrollers and people in the community and getting pictures, getting statements, getting letters, getting lots of support. And the good news is we got a conviction.
Okay.
And the man is still in jail as we speak.
Okay, good.
But that is actually when I realized that, I've actually jumped a whole bit of the story here, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is we could get a conviction, but then I realized that the police don't have access to our community radios. The police don't have access to our street chats. They don't know what so-and-so has put, what they've captured of this wall jumper into someone's property from their dash cam sometimes or from their home cameras. And what we then established is that we sit with an enormous amount of information, but what do we do with it? Mm-hmm. It goes nowhere. That information stays within the street group, between the block group, between the area group, within the neighborhood watch group. And we are the eyes and ears of SAPS. We are able to assist them. We are able to bring them information they don't have or they don't even know exists, if it makes any sense.
No, it makes absolutely perfect sense. You're the eyes and ears, as you said, on the ground. You know who's doing some shady deals, and you would have heard who's doing what, and so it makes perfect sense. So sorry, I interrupted you. Is there more to the story?
So one of the problems is that there's a big dislike from the public to SAPS and law enforcement because they feel like they don't do anything. I don't think that most policemen sign up to be a cop just for a salary. I think they start off with a passion. They start off really wanting to make a difference. I mean, every cop that I know is like that. And I think just from what I've learned from Elmarie since we've been talking, and from other people that, we work as a training company, we work very closely with a lot of the CPFs and a lot of the neighborhood watchers. We do training for them. And that's actually how I met Elmarie. And she told us this story. And so we came up with this concept of Project Tracey. And there's a very special reason why we ended up calling it Project Tracey, but it really is a project that hopefully will empower the community and as well as SAPS, because there are communities all over that are willing to do pretty much anything they can to help. You don't want to go to the police station And not, or most people don't even, if there's a crime, they don't report it because they go, oh, well, nothing's going to happen. And I think Project Tracey can make a massive difference there.
I agree.
And so Elmarie has done quite a few cases since then. Well, saying doing cases is not quite fair, but supported her SAPs. So, Elmarie, you wanted?
Yes, I'd like to share a very simple example of a young man who entered the community quite often, and he had a preference for copper pipes and copper taps, and it was the standard joke that put your stuff down when he enters the hood. But nobody's going to open a case at SAPS if your garden tap has been stolen. But then what we did, we encouraged everybody, go and open a case. We would get the camera footage from either that property or the street. I will get pictures, I will print the pictures, we will get a statement from the individual, sometimes the neighbor saw something. And we prepared all these cases. And then one day, unfortunately, for him, he stole some copper pipes a little bit too close to one of the patrollers' homes, and he walked past, but a bag in his hand and still wet from the spray. The patroller wasted no time in getting him and holding on to him until SAPS could arrive and do an arrest. Then we could open or join about 5 or 6 cases that were already prepared against him. And he could then get the proper sentence according to the 5 or 6 different cases that were prepared. So it is actually very important for the community to open cases and also for the community to get all the information across, but to get it across to the right channel.
Yeah. It sounds like you do a lot of work to basically do the police's work, if I'm understanding you correctly. Like you get the evidence, you collect, maybe you speak to witnesses, you get all that kind of information. As you just mentioned, you had like 4 or 6 other cases, and then you caught the guy and you were able to give the information to the cops. Some would say, isn't that the cops' job to do all of that work?
I think it is to a certain extent, and that's what I always thought, until I actually went behind the scenes and see how difficult it is. They have piles and piles of dockets. They are definitely incredibly short-staffed. And the working conditions are not always ideal. Many stations don't have internet, so detectives have to get their own internet. There's one email address for 20 odd detectives that is in one office that is closed over a weekend, one address. So the working conditions are really challenging. Also, for every case, they can't walk the streets to go and have a look at where is a camera, who's got a camera. Then the people are not home, they only come home at 8 o'clock at night. These officers have already gone home starting at 6 in the morning. So I think the workload has just become so much, and the community has always been considered the eyes and the ears of the police. But there's never been a channel to get it to them, in fact, to get it to the right place. We have the information, and it's almost like information goes so fast. There's been a mugging, and very often we catch the guy within 10 minutes, but then it's getting all the right information and getting it back to SAPS. My brother said to me yesterday when we were chatting about it, and he said, Project Tracey is a bit like the oil that goes into this machinery that has stagnated for a while. Sometimes it's a bit stuck. Sometimes the parts are a bit disengaged. Sometimes the parts might be a bit broken. And now Project Tracey is coming and putting the oil in there and getting the wheels working again. SAPs are able to focus on more important things and connecting dots when we bring information to them before they even have to ask. It's just the nature of technology today. Things go so fast. And what is the point of posting it on Facebook or your area group if it's not going to go anywhere from there.
And I think that's a massive point, Joe. I think what Elmarie is finding in her community now is that SAPs are enthusiastically working with the community, and they are a lot more positive. They're closing cases, so they don't have this community punching them and hitting them and kicking them all the time. And the community is actually seeing a much better integration with SAPs, and it's just building everybody up. So their community is a lot more positive. Their neighborhood watch is absolutely amazing, and I think it's pulled the neighborhood watch even closer together.
Yes, definitely. I find it would be so hard, and it is hard for the detectives to get nailed by the public all the time, complaints all the time, and then also you have to work with the courts, and the courts things are not always simple either. They need specific, very, very specific things to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and it's difficult. It really is difficult, and it's quite demoralizing for the detectives and general members of SAP. So I'm trying my best to support them, and I have to say that they help me greatly. They will phone and say, listen, Elmarie, something has just happened there. Have you got anybody on the ground that can go and get the footage while we're busy on another case? There is such a nice open relationship with them. It's actually quite exciting, really.
So basically what we're doing is we're putting together this project Tracey, where we're going to have these different elements that, some neighborhood watchers might already be doing something similar to this. And certain of the elements will plug into what they're already doing. So it's going to be a very holistic training for communities. And it's not just for neighborhood watchers. It could be for women's shelters, for example. So if they have an incident where there's some kind of a problem and, a lady needs help because somebody's being forceful, they can call on this project. So we want to have communities all over the place that work together to gather evidence because as Elmarie says, we are eyes and ears, and it's very simple. You walk down the road, you see something, you report it to a central place like your neighborhood watch, and then they are in constant discussion with SAPs.
Yes. Would you say that you guys are like private investigators, but like obviously not?
No.
Like is it that kind of vibe now? Like you got the binoculars and stuff.
It's kind of fun, I guess.
It is a lot of fun, and a lot of people ask me, and I have to be honest, some of the members at SAPS tease me. They call me Detective Elmarie. But we have a good relationship. I mean, I have no idea of the training they've got, and they are very gracious to me. I have to be honest. I would go and ask them, what did I do wrong here, or where can I do better? And they're very gracious in telling me, maybe you could do it this way, or we can't use this footage. It has to be in that format. And then I try my best to do it for them and give it to them in a format that they can use.
Look, this project, I think, is something that is needed in South Africa for many reasons. I think, it's no secret that the Minister of Police doesn't know what he's doing. And I think it is the corruption of the ANC as well as the incompetence of Kelee that leads, or that rather I should say, creates walls for the officers in SAPS that want to do their job. They want to bring justice. But I mean, let's take the DNA backlog that recently has come out. During that time, apparently it's getting better. I doubt that very much, but so far I'm hearing it's getting slightly better, but not good enough. But there was a time in this past year where cops didn't have evidence bags. They didn't have pens. They didn't have the powder for fingerprints when they look for fingerprints and stuff like that, and they had to use their own money and go to Macro and buy plastic bags for the evidence, which is ridiculous. And that's not their fault. It's absolutely not their fault. It's the fault of the government and the corruption and not being able to pay for certain contracts and stuff like that. So when you guys come in as Project Tracey, again, I don't know if you help in that regard where you give them some resources, but at least there's an avenue that they can use where, for example, there's a mugging or there's a car theft or a hijacking or whatever. You guys would be like, oh, there's a car theft here. The suspect looks like X, Y, and Z. We're going to like canvass the area, and because it's no secret, cops are understaffed. So the cops can do whatever it is they're busy with and maybe reconvene with you later. What do you know? What did you hear? And then they can is that the kind of relationship that you're talking about?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is so amazing is I have the telephone numbers of a whole lot of police officers. They would be in the van, and I'd be able, very often the vans in our police station, they don't have individual cell phones. So if I have the officer's number, I can say, listen, I've just driven past you over there, but there's been an incident 5 blocks down the other direction. Can you please join us there? That has happened not so long ago. There was a wall jumper. They'd come back from one place. We drove past each other. I could phone them and say, listen, join us at that address.
But that's definitely part of the plan, Joe. So with the, there's something called the Ratepayers Association. And the Ratepayers Association has funding. In fact, some of your rates are dedicated to protecting the community. So once, once we get involved more in the communities, we can say, look, your SAPS station needs evidence bags. They need this, they need that. And that can come out of the ratepayers' money. I think they're allowed to give a certain percentage to, somebody was telling me. So absolutely, I think this is a very holistic thing. Elmarie's developed this 3 years worth of knowledge that she's been doing and experience. And it'll go into the training. So we're going to sit down together. We're going to put the whole training together. And she's going to be very much an integral part of, teaching the communities. And it's not going to be something that we're going to push. It's going to be something that if a community is interested, then, we'll engage. Very much, I think that's quite important.
Yes.
And there's going to be some police stations that will push back. And that's okay.
Yeah.
We're not here to force it on anyone, but we're here to say, if your community needs this, then we are gearing up, and very soon we'll be ready to launch. And we're very excited about it. I mean, it's going to make a massive difference in just people feel so helpless and powerless and angry, and I think crime has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely.
Because let's face it, I mean, most of us have been involved in some kind of a crime. Our office manager had an attempted hijacking last Saturday.
Wow.
And, even her, she came into work and I said, well, did you report it? She's like, well, why bother? So, we made her report it, and so she's feeling a lot more empowered about it. She's feeling like something's going to happen, So we're very excited about it.
Joe, I'm particularly excited because sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, go ahead.
I'm particularly excited because it involves every single person in the community, from the old man who goes 6 o'clock every morning to collect his newspaper, who waters his plants then. If he doesn't even need to have a cell phone. If he sees something that doesn't look right, out of the ordinary, 2 blokes walking down the street trying car doors, he can just tell his neighbor, who can post it on the group, and it moves from there. It is every everybody is part of this community, and everybody has got eyes and ears. They see something. Now that something can go somewhere and it can be used positively for the safety of their immediate community. I find it terribly exciting.
No, it definitely is. And we've got some people that are just tuning in and asking, what is this conversation about? So let me just quickly recap. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, these two lovely ladies have started a new project. It's called Project Tracey, and it's all about helping the community, specifically when it comes to investigation, helping with SAPs, creating a better relationship with SAPs so that they are helped to do their job. And this will take many different avenues which they're going to work on, such as funding, helping SAPs get the resources they need. But most importantly, at this stage, it is about communication and building a relationship with the local SAPs in your community so that crime can, end, hopefully. And they've got some successful stories which they've shared earlier in the stream. So please, if you've just tuned in, rewatch and check out some of that information and stories. Fascinating stuff. And I gotta admit, I was a little bit skeptical when I was gonna do this interview. I'm gonna be honest, but you know what? I've heard a lot of, Morning Shot, Ramon Cabernac, AfriForum, all these guys talk about we need to build the community. We need to focus on the community because we live, unfortunately, in a failed state. And there's a lot of people that don't want to admit that or don't want to see that. And I mean, we mentioned Kelee earlier. So what you guys are doing is basically solving the issue that we currently have. Okay, cool. Corruption is rampant. There are some bad apples in the system, but there are some good apples in the system. Let's find the good apples, work with them, so that our community can rise up and be better. And crime is definitely a huge problem in South Africa. So I really hope that the people watching will share this video, talk about you. Unfortunately, at this stage, you don't have a website, but when that is released or is created, I'll definitely talk about you guys again. Maybe we'll have you back on again, share some more stories and stuff like that. And we'll promote it again and again because I think this is a fantastic idea. I think this is what is needed in the current situation of South Africa. And I hope, sorry, I just saw a comment now. I'll bring it up now. And I hope it goes far. I hope there will be communities that will reach out to you guys and say, hey, we need help. Train us, show us, tell us what to do. I think it's going to go far. So really, I'm just as excited as you ladies are.
Thank you very much, Joe.
No worries.
It's really wonderful to have this opportunity, and just from a neutral person like yourself, who is, I know, passionate about South Africa, from what you've said, so it's really very cool.
Awesome. So,
just a little story that where the name came from. So my sister's name was Tracey. Tracey had unfortunately got stage 4 cancer, and she was involved. It's about 30 years ago. She was involved in a road rage incident. We don't know exactly what happened. She didn't remember, but she got pushed off the road by a rather large chap in Pretoria, and he pulled her out the car and beat her face in. So she had a broken cheekbone, broken nose, and because she was doing chemo, she never healed. So she actually passed away in that state. We looked for this guy. We only had 3 numbers of the number plate and the fact that it was a white bakkie. So we never found the guy, and there was never justice. And so when Elmarie started talking about this seemed like the perfect justice, because that's really what we want. I mean, when you're involved in a crime, you want justice. And so it seemed like a good match, for a name.
Yeah.
And really, we want justice.
Yeah. No, I think the name is perfect. You also told the story in our interview, and it's still shocking to hear it again. Again, I'm really sorry for your loss. It's horrible
Thank
way to
you.
go. But again, I think in a great tribute to your sister, doing this and getting justice for other people in her name, using the project is a phenomenal, fantastic way to honor her memory, and it makes me even more excited to see what you guys are going to do. Very quickly, though, I have some questions coming in, so let's take a few
Sure.
of these questions that are coming in at the moment. Lars Solis, very interesting name. Do they have plans to expand their services to include businesses?
Never thought about that.
Well, there you go.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Be interesting to know what context.
Okay, well, Lars Solis, if you can expand a bit on that with what you mean, then yeah, we can have a bit of a conversation about it and think about it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I never thought about it, not
There
yet.
you go. Lars Solis is kind of a regular on this channel. He always asks some great questions.
That
You're
sounds
not the
good.
first guest that's like, that's a great idea. We didn't think of that. You're good one, Lars Solis. Thanks for asking. All right, so the Brew's also asking, how does the network work via WhatsApp or other communication methods? Yes, it is via WhatsApp, and I imagine you guys use other methods as well to communicate with one another.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's some
yes.
very, very specific things that they use at the moment, and we will be exploring those and more, because WhatsApp is very nice, but the problem with WhatsApp is there's too much noise.
Okay.
You want a unidirectional for certain things. So we've found a few products for that.
Okay. Fantastic.
WhatsApp is the general kind of a thing that we'll use to communicate with the public, but you don't want the public to be commenting on everything that comes in.
Yeah.
So yes, great question.
All right. Awesome. And then Gentle Inflatables is asking, what province are you ladies in?
We are in the Western Cape, but personal safety travels all over the world, and we actually teach all over the world. So we teach in South Africa, all around South Africa. So we will be rolling it out, to whoever wants it.
Fantastic.
This can go anywhere because it really involves everybody who lives in a community. And as I said earlier, community can be 4 or 5 houses that have their little street group and they notice things. And again, what do we do with that information? It can't stay within that street group or a slightly bigger group. It's got to get to where it can be put to use. I just want to emphasize here that we are not SAPs. We can't replace SAPs, and we are definitely also not armed response. We are eyes and ears, and we are good eyes and good ears, and we collect a lot of stuff and we take it to where it's got to go and where they can use it. And I know we look at the bigger picture of SAPS and we see it's very broken. Many areas are broken, but not everything. And we can work within our communities, within our immediate police officers. There are things that the community can give. I've got a color printer, so very often when they go to court and there's an issue about clothing, I say, don't worry, let me quickly go and do color copies. Let's get it in the docket, and then the magistrate can see the guy's got the same shoes on with the same logo in that same color. We can do a lot for them. They are limited in their resources, but we have resources that we can give them. And together we can achieve so much more. There is really hope for the crime in the country. I'm very excited about what's happening. I've seen changes, and the only problem I have, it is a little bit addictive.
I think she should have been a private investigator.
Yeah, I can imagine it does get addictive. So Lars Solis has given a bit of context here. So, neighborhood watch is a community thing, but when you include business, you get endorsement and stuff. You can encourage neighborhoods and their businesses to have a yearly event. If businesses donate to local community watch programs, then it creates a sustainable ecosystem, one that can grow into a proper alternative when SAPS is or unavailable.
And that's one of the things we've been talking about, is actually having um, like an annual competition where we give incentive to police that have been outstanding in your community, or law enforcement, or and also to encourage the armed response guys. So I know Elmarie and them work very closely with their armed response guys. Every single entity in your community is important. You don't want to exclude anyone. And what we find is a lot of the communities will latch onto one armed response company, which I'm not sure always works out so well, because that armed response company will often get quite lax. Sorry, we're talking about businesses, and I think this gentleman has a fantastic point about businesses. I think to get businesses involved would make a massive difference, because they've got the resources. They are the guys that can do the printing for SAPS, for example. And I think that's a really good idea for us to start looking at businesses in the area to assist with this project.
Yeah.
And I think they will be happy to assist. And it will also bring, the businesses are so frustrated because I know in Gauteng, for example, there are areas where the copper cable is stolen and the business is down every single day. And the frustration of trying to run a business there. So if we can get the community involved, watching for these, copper thieves or whatever the business problem is, I think that's a very, very good idea, and we're definitely going to look at that.
Fantastic.
So thank you very much.
I'm glad, Larsalis. Thank you for tuning in and giving some good ideas there. Thank you, guys. Keep the questions coming in, guys. We will get to them. The Brew asking another question. He says, "Okay, fine. How are they curating the various issues in areas?" I think we touched on that earlier, if I'm not mistaken.
We have a little bit, yes. Our what I'm doing within a neighborhood watch, which is registered with DOCS, the Department of Community Safety. And we work in teams. Everything we do is basically teamwork, and there is no rogue going out, Delta, Delta, 1, 2, come in for Oscar 5, 8, over, none of that, no. You can't go out of your own in this kind of thing, no. We are very well behaved. We always advise the community. The process is you call SAPS first, then you called your arm response, and then you called your neighborhood watch. The difference is where SAPS might have 5 vehicles, we are 70 plus in our community, 70 plus patrollers. Not everybody's available at the same time, but there's a good chance you're going to get 5 or maybe 10 that can respond very quickly and that can quickly comb the area. And if it's a wall jumper or somebody who's just stolen an item, we do actually often have a success story. But then we can detain the individual, but we still have to wait for SAPS to come in. But it's all about relationships, as I said in the beginning. It's relationships, and with the relationships comes trust, which is also very, very important. They need to know that they can rely on us, and we know that when we call them, they will come out.
No, fantastic. Here's a question that popped into my head now. We know that in certain communities, in certain areas, not just in the Western Cape, but across South Africa, like we just mentioned earlier, SAPs are, they're hitting walls all the time, or they're corrupt, and so on and so forth. what or how do you plan to help the communities that are perhaps really, really suffering? And I'll give you an example. Kailicha, for example. The other day on I was in the Crazy store, and they have their own radio that plays, and the guy was reporting on a woman that went to SAPS to report sexual assault. And the SAPS literally told her, like, well, you're gonna have to investigate it yourself. They didn't want to help. Like, they just like threw up their hands, like, oh well, whatever. And obviously this woman is traumatized, and wouldn't know where to start. So for communities such as Kailicha and so on and so forth, do you guys plan on
Yes,
reaching out to them and helping them?
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Okay.
I think, there's this is not it's not based on it's based on a community, whoever the community is. We can't go into a place like Khayelitsha and force them to take it on. They would have to approach us. We would then give them all the training that they need, but they have to take responsibility for it. And I think that's the beauty of it, because every area station is different. There's some area stations in the more affluent areas where because of the money element, they are forced to operate a certain way. Whereas in some of the poorer areas, there's no pressure, but there's also no, a crime happens and SAPS goes in and goes, okay, tell us what happened. And the community goes, no, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
And they just,
Might want to refocus.
sorry, that
yourself
was
there.
me. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries.
They kind of abscond and hope that SAPS can do something, and they can't. There's a lot of people that have seen what has happened. So teaching the community to not be so afraid and to become involved in their own safety and justice system. Yes, every single community that we can help, we want to help.
I would like to add here that it doesn't only happen in Khayelitsha.
Yeah.
Exactly that happened in my area. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times. To the extent that I now accompany the victims to make sure a case is opened and to understand. And now I am going to come up for SAPS here again, because sometimes they're newly trained. There's, especially when it comes to sexual crimes, it is quite difficult to get the right crime, whether it's going to be indecent exposure, whether it's going to be sexual assault, and they don't always know. And it's a question of then, for a neighborhood watch, that person can approach a neighborhood watch that can then assist, that can go to the FCS, that can actually help them. And that is part of what the neighborhood watch does. That's part of what I do. Within the first year I started this, is like, but hang on, we can't stop here. There must be a system. And the system does work. It is not easy. It doesn't always work. As I said, sometimes the parts are not engaged properly.
Well, I think that was his point. The point is that she's got to do this herself, and she doesn't know where to start.
No, wait, exactly.
So if she can look to the community to help her.
Exactly. And I wish I knew who she was, because I would actually try and help her. It is, you feel just so demoralized and so helpless in some sense, that you feel you've got to go and you've got to do it yourself. But there are systems, and I wish I could help her. If you can put me in touch with her, I will help.
I wish I could. Unfortunately, like I said, I was listening on the radio, and the guy didn't mention her name or anything. He just was reporting on the story. I think it did make headline news, but there's been, like you mentioned earlier or just now, she's not the only one, unfortunately. unfortunately, and it is appalling when you have the president of this nation going out and saying that there's a second pandemic, which is GBV, and yet these women, these victims are not being helped. And again, I know, it's not always SAP's fault, but at the same time, SAPS is run by the government. Government needs to take responsibility here,
Yeah,
especially
but they're not going to.
yeah. No, they're not going to. But I mean,
You know,
this is why what you
there-
guys are doing is so
there's
important.
no question that's going well. Government has to.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So what I'm
Because
doing is I'm not expecting them to do anything. I'm just carrying on doing what I'm doing.
yeah,
And we don't win all the cases. I don't have all SAP supporting me, but most of them can see the benefit of it. And we do get some good results. And it gives people hope.
Yeah,
and that's important.
and I think that was brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is important. Look, I think as I mentioned earlier, communities need to band together. If again, failed state, this is what you do. You band together. You're like, and we've heard many stories like this over the past few months. Municipalities not delivering on water or electricity or whatever the case you may have. So the community bands together and says, "Cool, we're going to withhold these funds until you get someone to fix the road or fix the electricity or fix whatever." Municipality does nothing about it, so the community end up doing it themselves, and it's not illegal to do so.
Yeah.
And communities now more than ever in South Africa are banding together to create hope and to basically save South Africa to some extent. So I think what you guys are doing is on the same playing field as that, and I really am excited to see it grow, and hopefully we'll be seeing you in the news and people raving about you. I really cannot wait to see more of what you guys do. I have another question very quickly, actually two questions. Germany, even just having a visible community watch program reduces crime. Just being visible or just existing will be a deterrent to some. You can never prevent all crime. No, absolutely. Sorry, it's not a question, it's more of a statement, but absolutely, I agree with that. But you're right. Just being seen is enough. Here's the question. What are the ladies' stance on self-defense and empowering women's rights to self-defense?
There you go.
That's the whole subject. Okay, so I'm very controversial here. When you think of self-defense, the term self-defense, okay, you think of immediately, all right, when he grabs you around the throat, you're going to knee him in the groin. When he grabs you in a bear hug, in reality, that's not really how an attack happens. Okay, a very small percentage of attacks happen like that. Attacks happen with weapons like guns, knives, bricks, sticks, screwdrivers, probably the most common weapon in South Africa. And so if there's two guys, both with weapons, which one are you going to kick in the groin? Which one are you going to self-defense yourself? I came up with the term personal safety about 15 years ago because I want to teach people that safety is about a strategy, not about learning to kick and punch. So learning to kick and punch, I think, is fantastic. It's very good for strength, confidence, balance, your body, but it's not going to help you in a hijacking. So it's really about, I think, if people start thinking about their safety as a strategy, something that they have to do before. So if I think, where am I likely to be attacked? And we're all different, okay? I live a very different life to Elmarie. So I walk to work. So my danger is very different to Elmarie's. So the way I prepare my strategy is really to think about, okay, where am I vulnerable? How am I going to prevent it, if at all possible? And you have to think about it beforehand. You can't be faced with this guy with a knife or a gun on the beach and then think, ooh, what am I going to do now? You have to have thought, if this happens to me, what am I going to do? I've got my pepper spray, I've got my, whatever personal safety tool you choose or tools. And it's just as you would practice your kicks and your punches, you need to practice to use your tools and distance to keep yourself safe. I know it's a very long explanation, but so I'm a little nervous about the term self-defense as it's used traditionally. If you can get the personal safety concept and self-defense into one thing, and I really believe martial arts is a very good thing for people to do, but they need to understand that it's not necessarily going to save them in an emergency. It's not going to save them in a home invasion, for example. When you get, a guy with a gun and two guys with knives and somebody outside watching, I don't think your kicks and punches are going to help. Well, there might be, in that it might help you.
Yeah.
But I think it's really more about strategy. So I love that question. I really think it's a very, very good question.
All right. Yeah. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are watching and those of you that are watching later, the link is in the description for personal safety. Go check it out. Specializing in, as Kelee just said, strategizing your life and protecting yourself, trying to predict what could happen in your everyday life and being prepared for it. I think that's the best way to describe it, is just being prepared. And I like that saying, like, for example, like, one day I hope to own a gun, and a lot of my friends have even asked me, like, why do you want to own a gun? And I'm like, well, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And that's just how I feel. Rather safe than sorry. Because you're right, I can punch and kick very well if it's close contact, but when a criminal brings a gun into my house and I don't have one, no punch and no kick is gonna be fast enough, I don't think. So yeah, that's just.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And the thing is, not everybody believes in guns.
Yeah.
I like all personal safety tools. I think every single one's got its place, but not every single one is right for each of us. And when you explore your personal safety strategy, you need to explore the different types of tools that you could possibly use. So, for example, there's pepper spray. Does it work against a gun? If you deploy it before the gun comes out.
Yeah.
The nice thing about stuff like pepper spray and flashlights and tactical batons is you can deploy them a lot faster than you can deploy a gun. That didn't come out quite right, but sooner.
Yeah.
So the moment you take that gun out, you have to have decided, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
You don't want to take it out and kind of threaten. It's got to be that your life is in imminent danger and you have no other choice, and all the gun rules.
Yeah.
Whereas with pepper spray, it's much easier to say sorry afterwards. If you have if you prematurely use your pepper spray.
No, fair point. And actually, the brew was, I think we just answered his question. So straightforward question: do the ladies believe in owning a gun for self-defense? That is the ultimate. What? That is the ultimate deterrent. Sorry. I think you just answered that.
If you're talking about me, I don't know. What do you believe, Elmarie? Do you believe in carrying a gun?
I don't go out without my pepper spray. I don't get out of my vehicle without my pepper spray. I'm not trained in a gun. So for now, that's what I can use. Kelee has trained me. She showed me how to use my pepper spray. And no matter what the situation is, I don't know who I'm going to deal with. I don't know how it's going to go down. So I always have my pepper spray with me.
Okay.
Myself, I'm a gun person. But it would be my very last resort.
Yeah.
I've kind of fallen in love with something called a burner at the moment, which is it shoots little pepper balls and it's very, very potent.
Wow.
And that's another thing that you can use before a firearm.
Yeah.
It doesn't replace a firearm. So I don't think any tool replaces another tool. I think they're all used for different things. If you think about your home, so if you were to set up your home to prevent a home invasion, you would think about your layers. So there's 4 layers, in my opinion, okay? The first one is your boundary layer. A boundary layer is anything he's got to go over, under, or through. So when you plan your home strategy, you think about what can I put in place to make him go through or over or under, which makes it more difficult. Your second layer is your warning layer, which can be dogs, beams, lights, anything that give you. So your beam goes off, somebody's in your garden. What is the next part of your plan? The third layer would then be your alarm layer. So that would be your alarm inside. What a lot of people don't think about is your alarm and your beams should actually sound different. And then your fourth layer, obviously, is your safe place. So your dogs bark, you look at your camera. If you have your camera, if you don't have a camera, you take a peek outside because your beams just went off. You know they're outside because it's got a different sound. You get yourself to a place of safety and you immediately phone SAPS, law enforcement, etc., etc. So that would be a much more effective strategy than sitting waiting for somebody to come in so you can shoot them.
Fair point.
But that gun for me is my final thing, and I believe that we have the right to defend ourselves.
Absolutely. There you go.
Can I just add here that whatever self-defense item you choose, know how to work it
Yeah.
and be prepared to use it.
Yeah.
If those 2 things are not in place, forget it.
Yeah.
Probably about 85% of people, ladies mostly, who have pepper spray won't ever use it. Because A, they can't find it. It's somewhere in the cupboard or laying in the car or, and B, how does it work? Do I use my thumb? Do I use my finger? And C, when do I spray him? So normally when we teach, I'll say, so when are you going to pull the trigger? And they go, when my life's in danger. And there's no thought behind that. So when is that? Is that when the guy has intent to hurt you? Or is that when the guy sticks a knife into you? So you really have to think about it, and you've got to practice. Just the same as a gun, your pepper spray, your tactical baton, your burner, your whatever it is, you've got to have thought about it in detail. You've got to say, when this, then I shoot. Or when this, I, do my pepper spray.
Yeah.
So we've got to be much more proactive about our personal safety strategy.
Yep. I agree 100%. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, please go check out that website, personalsafety.co.za. Link in the description, and get trained by Kelee and her team so that you can prepare your life for the jungle that is South Africa, unfortunately. But yeah, ladies, it is an hour officially, so we are going to wrap it up now.
Wow.
Wait, the Brew's saying, and get the stream pepper spray, please, not the mist version.
Okay, I'm going to argue with you. I will argue every point, and I'll tell you why. For inside, the fog is better. Okay, so I have fog at the top of my passage, and when the beams go off or the dogs bark, I grab my fog, I fog up my passage, I get into my safe room, and I lock the door. Stream doesn't work quite the same, and I agree with him, Brew. That's a very good point. Know what your pepper spray is going to do.
Yeah.
So for outside, you want stream. For inside, you want fog.
Well, there you go. I think that's an excellent point. Some tips there for you ladies and everybody else that's trying to prepare themselves in this jungle of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and ladies, thank you once again so much for coming onto the show. This was a fantastic story that you guys told. I'm very excited about the project that you guys have going out. Ladies and gentlemen that are watching, please look out for Project Tracey. You'll be seeing it soon on the internet. I'm sure it'll be all over social media very soon. And yeah, just support them. Tell your friends about them. Tell your families about them. Let's build our communities to a safe and inhabitable place once again. Ladies, is there anything you guys want to say in closing?
Just to thank you very much, Joe, for the opportunity. I can't tell you how much it means to us, and for your support. And we look forward to getting it out there. It's, helping people and fixing this justice mess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Elmarie?
And just to say, every single one has a role to play. I have no legal background. I've got no SAPS background. I'm a driver in the film industry, basically. Every single one has a role to play.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And on that note, a perfect way to end. Ladies, once again, thank you so much. I will be in contact. We will be in contact. We'll have you back on, hopefully in a few months' time when things are running and getting out there. We'll keep on promoting this project of yours. And I do wish you guys the best of luck. For those of you that are watching, don't forget to also check out the website once again and keep an eye out for that project. Tracey, I'm going to say bye to you ladies now, so thank you so much for joining, and we'll chat again soon. Cheers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Kelee, Aerosmith, and Elmarie once again from Project Tracey. Please, like I said, keep an eye out for that name. If you see it, tell your family about it. Tell your friends about it. Get the community involved. I think it's a great idea what they are doing. I think it's phenomenal. And I think it's something that's a step in the right direction for this failed state that we find ourselves in. And if you think we're not in one, well, then you need to wake up. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back Thursday evening for, we're going to be with the boys. We're going to have some fun. Also, check out a new show that I'm doing. It's called Social Media Circus. It's where I commentate and I review and I make jokes about the current things that people are saying on social media. Memes, headlines, posts, some really funny stuff. You should go check it out. The first episode just dropped today, so please go check it out. Second episode coming out tomorrow, and then I'll be releasing them weekly as time goes on. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, if I don't see you on Thursday, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I will see you at the next one. Cheers.